Yeah. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray, and this is my lovely co-host, Crackhead, also known as Rascal, also known as my best buddy. Yep, he is definitely my best buddy. I got something in the mail I got three somethings in the mail. I got seeds, I got a cup with sock monkeys on it, and you know how I like sock monkeys. But I also got a package with something growing, and it's rhizomes. So I got hit by three different areas of the country. I got hit from Florida, from California, and I forgot where the seeds came from, but they came from another part of the country. So all parts of the country decided to mail me something at the exact same time. This is called Tettnanger hops, also known as noble hops. For those of you who drink beer, you know exactly what a hops is. For those of you who don't drink beer, a hops is a vine, and it grows from a rhizome, kind of like blackberries and stuff for gardeners. Yeah, blackberries and raspberries and a few other kind of berries. They grow from what's called rhizomes. And a rhizome is nothing more than a root that grows kind of horizontally. And I'm just getting basic with this, so don't hold me down, okay? It's just a root that grows horizontally, and then it sends up shoots along this big master root, and it puts out more stuff. That's why raspberries, if you notice, raspberries and blackberries, they send up more stuff along the other plant, like right next to the plant. It's from a rhizome. Yeah, and that's how hops grow. They send out this rhizome, and a lot of flowers will do this too. And they put out all kinds of new growth, and this has all kinds of new shoots in it, so I better get this planted really, really soon because I want to make sure that it survives. And that is the coolest thing. I don't drink beer. I mean, I don't drink alcohol at all, but I love growing plants. And hops, I've grown a hops vine before. It was nuts. I grew it right next to an oak tree, and it took over that oak tree, and it grew in the shade. And you're not supposed to grow these in the shade. But apparently somebody didn't tell this hops vine, and somebody didn't tell me. So I have some hops rhizomes that I'm going to be planting here in containers if I can find any containers. I may have to use coffee cans, but I'm going to definitely get them started. And then when the weather warms up enough outside to where I don't have to worry about any kind of chance of frost, they're going outside because I want these to grow outside. They're going to go nuts. Hops vines go crazy. And they grow all over everything. As long as you give them full sun, there's no limit. They're just going to go absolutely nuts. But I have a hops vine, I have myself, and by the way, this isn't just, I thought this was just like a cup, but it turns out it's a hot and cold cup. And I know it's not a gardening related thing, but are we done? Now I'm going to have to wash it. Ew, got dog buggers on it. But it's a hot and cold cup, which is actually kind of cool because I walk around with my coffee mug all the time, and a lot of people have asked me, Ray, don't you drink coffee anymore? We don't see you with coffee. And I thought, no, I don't want to be bringing my coffee down here because it kind of slows me down from what I want to do. Still drink coffee, and I still drink my Diet Coke, and I still get flack for drinking Diet Coke, but I really don't care. This handles both, hot and cold. I don't have a hot and cold. Well, actually, I do now. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for all the fun gifts. It's really kind of cool. And as promised, here comes the grand tour. Get ready, get ready. Let's go over there. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. This is what the trunk looks like on a mature plant. They're actually very woody looking, and some folks will think that this is a problem that they're having with their plants, like maybe something's wrong with the stem or it's dying. Actually, no, that's a good thing. If you see a woody looking stem on your plant, that means that it's mature, and that's a good thing. This plant has about maybe 4 or 5 of those, and then as they go up, they get thinner and thinner, and more growth comes out of it. But the growth on these, whether they're Easter or Christmas cactus, and I believe this is an Easter cactus. Most people just call them Christmas cactuses, but my viewers pointed out a difference. The Christmas cactuses have more smooth leaves, I believe, and these have the little barb leaves. Actually, those aren't even sharp. Those are just really soft points. But that is the Easter cactus, I think, or they call it a holiday cactus, who knows. But look at this. This is the new growth. Whenever you see this coming out, you'll see little buds and little maroon, that is a beautiful color too, isn't it? Maroon leaves will come out of these, and then as they mature, they'll turn green. And then when it's ready to flower, out of the tip of them, well, these aren't ready to flower, you'll see a little round thing, and that will be the bud for the flower. Every now and then, for no rhyme or reason, this thing decides to flower. This used to be really huge. I started this out from a very small, maybe a half a dozen little cuttings like this, leaves, and it turned into this in about maybe, I think, 5-7 years. I really haven't kept track of it. And that's what happened. I just shoved them into a pot, and they grew with moderate light, nothing special, and then they got really, really huge. This plant used to be about twice this size, maybe 3 times this size, so I pruned it back and put it into a larger pot, and this is what I got. Yep, it's a beauty. It came back. It came back from the pruning really nice, so don't be afraid to prune these back or to take cuttings, because they really do root very, very well. I pruned this not too long ago, and right here you can see, yep, just like any other plant, I pruned it because I didn't want it to get tall. And all of these are actually very sticky plants when you touch them. They're very sticky, and I don't like the feel of them. But then again, like I mentioned, they are great for catching bugs. You know, white flies, aphids, all kinds of weird bugs will stick to this plant like flypaper. But it's got a new shoot here, over there. I'm not going to go nuts and show you all of those, but they are a very beautiful plant. Very sturdy, very, very solid, and they grow really well outside in full sun. The leaves on these, look at this. That is just huge, and that's an indoor plant. When you have them outdoors, they get even bigger than that. Yep, they definitely love sunlight. They can do well in shade. They're a very versatile plant, but you got to give them room to grow. This is in a 16-inch pot, and I'm going to grow it indoors. I'm not going to take this outdoors, and it's going to do just fine in the voodoo garden. Each time it gets too tall, I'm going to prune it back. But the nice thing about pruning these is you get more flower heads, because each growing tip will eventually get flower heads and seed pods, so I'm going to get a lot more seeds this way. For a really good leaf pattern, I definitely recommend this plant. If you're going to grow a banana plant, you have to grow a Zebrina or a blood banana. And it's not for the fruit that I'm growing it. I'm just growing it for the color. And the camera really doesn't do justice. The leaf color is this reddish brown, kind of like a burnt color. And the green is absolutely beautiful. The leaves get really big. As it gets bigger, this is just a baby, by the way. And it's coming back from the dead because the mother plant died. And I chopped it back, and you can do this. If you chop these back down to the soil level, which is what I did with this, I cut it back all the way to here. And this is a new shoot that came out of it. And when they get older, more mature, sometimes they will put out new pups, as they call them, new plants that come out. As the pups get bigger, you can gently slice them off from the mother plant and bring them out and root them, and you get more plants. Yep, this is a beauty, and I am really glad I have it here. I didn't grow this orchid the way that I should have. I should have probably grown it in bark or peat moss or whatever people kept yelling at me, and they did yell. But I just decided to grow it like any other plant because I really wasn't interested in going crazy on growing specific, you know, really touchy kind of plants. And orchids can be a little bit finicky sometimes for people who don't know how to grow orchids. I know that there are a lot of people who grow orchids that think they're very simple, but then again, people that grow all kinds of plants always think that their particular kind of plant is easy to grow. This one grew in regular potting mix. The regular potting mix that I use for everything else, it flowered once or twice, and it grew really well, and it put out a new side baby over there, but I don't know if it's going to live or die. And if it does die, that's really too bad. If it lives, that's good. You're welcome to stay in the voodoo garden, but I really don't worry about it too much. I just give it moderate light. I water it well, but let the soil dry out a bit, and that's really all I do. This looks like a relative of the dragon tree, the Dracaena family. And it also looks like maybe a close relative of the pineapple because it grows very similar to the pineapple. This is called an agave. And this agave came to me, I got a few of them from a friend, and they were little itty bitty things in an envelope. And look at this. This thing has grown really huge compared to my hand. I put my hand in here. Yeah, it's a very sturdy thing. It rooted really well. That's the thing. It rooted well. And even though they grow, I think, in Mexico under full hot sun, it's doing good in the voodoo garden under moderate light and well-drained, rich soil. I know they probably prefer dry, arid conditions with sandy soil, but not this one. This one seems to like it here. So whatever I'm doing, I think I'm doing it right. This vanilla orchid has about maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 vines coming out of it. I got this online from eBay. And it was this little itty bitty stem, and I planted it. It went nuts, and I kept chopping it back, and it kept growing some more. I don't know if it's ever going to flower, and I really don't know what I'm doing. So my best advice is if you're growing a vanilla orchid, let it trail around and give it well-drained, rich soil. And, you know, that's basically my advice for just about everything that I grow. Well-drained, rich soil, moderate light. So everything in here gets the exact same conditions. Look at this thing go. It's going way down to the floor, actually, from above height, my head level. So I think it's about maybe a 6-foot long vine. Way the heck down, I don't know, somewhere down there. I have no idea what kind of philodendron this is. I brought this in when I brought in the houseplants months ago. And it was this little itty bitty thing. I put it in a pot and I keep it over here. It gets kind of crowded out by all the bigger plants, but then again, philodendrons can grow in lower light. So that's actually a good thing. I'm sure if I gave it brighter light, it would grow bigger leaves, but you know what? There's valuable real estate here in the grow room, and I just don't have the room for it right now to give it bright light. But maybe when I take all the garden plants outside, I'll have some more space and I'll give this bright light and boost the leaf growth. Because look, the leaves, if they get a bright light, like back in the day when I got it, I gave it bright light and the leaves were big. But now that it's over here, it's got smaller leaves. This is great for a hanging basket or up on a shelf, and I wish I had more shelving space. I would put this up on a shelf. Maybe I'll put a shelf in. These little tendrils you see here are the property of the tiger melon or tigger melon. Yeah, I have a tigger melon growing, and I don't know if it's going to produce fruit, but it sure does make a nice shelf plant, doesn't it? It's just one plant up there in the shelf, and it's just vining all over the darn place. It's kind of cool. This thing is definitely going to do good outside if I decide to take it outside, but I think I'm going to leave it inside. I kind of like it as an indoor plant. People don't think of these gourds as an indoor plant, but you can grow quite a few outdoor plants as indoor plants, and they're quite beautiful. Okay, down there, yeah, look down there. That is a Racemosa coffee tree. Yeah, I think it's a Racemosa. I forgot what it was, and I think it ate the tag a long time ago. So I really have no idea what type this is, but I do know that it doesn't get that tall. It only gets like a few feet tall, and I've been pruning the leaves as it grows up. So it's got this cluster of leaves and a nice trunk down there. But maybe it'll produce coffee beans. I would probably be shocked if it did. I have no idea what I'm doing right here, but apparently it likes it here in the voodoo garden. It drops about maybe half a dozen leaves a week, but it puts out that many more on the top, so it just keeps putting out, and it's a beautiful plant. Nice, glossy, rich looking leaves. Coffee plants, it's really hard to germinate their seeds. They take about, what, 1 to 2 months or something like that to germinate, and then about maybe another month to shed the shell off of their seed leaves. So it is really an exercise in patience to get these things to germinate. But boy, once they get going, they are the funnest thing to grow. And I definitely recommend trying it. Darn it, this thing was grabbing the camera. This is a jasmine. It's not a pretty looking jasmine, but it used to be. This used to be a huge, beautiful, lush bush. And at the other place that I lived, but the whiteflies got a hold of it. So I butchered it back, and then when we moved, it got uprooted as I was moving it because it had shallow roots. I wasn't watering it properly. So I had to prune it all back, and it's coming back, and then when it came back, it had that soil problem. So this poor thing has really paid its dues, and now it's just starting to come back from the dead, and it has new growth. Look at this. I don't look at the bottom stuff because that doesn't matter, but I look at the top. That's how you tell if a plant's doing good. Always look at the new growth. That'll be the indicator. And this is a night blooming jasmine. Boy, when the flowers come out on this, it will fill your house with an exotic scent, and it's absolutely amazing. But the flowers don't last long. They're very small, and it doesn't bloom that often. But boy, when it does, it makes it all worth it. Okay, I'm leaning over, so if I fall, well, you're going to go down with me. This is the bird of paradise. This is the plant that was flowering like mad in the corner. It's been in the corner ever since I moved here. It just seems to like it there. The leaves up at the top kind of curled in, and they got really damaged from the soil problems that I had a while back. But the new leaves, look at this. I started changing my fertilizer, and it has a brand spanking new beautiful leaf here, and another one back there that's opening. And those leaves don't show the damage of the old leaves. So this thing's coming back from the dead. You know, when you're growing a bird of paradise, it's so much like a peace lily in a way. What'll happen is, let me see if I can move this camera without falling forward. These things definitely will grow in a shaded area outside or filtered sunlight. Inside, filtered sunlight is best, but they do need a lot of room. When I transplanted this, the roots were insane. Big, tuberous, ginormous roots in this. It just scared the living daylights out of me. And this plant started out as one seed many years ago, about a decade ago. But it has grown, and now it's split into more than one plant. Can you see that? It's hard to tell, but yeah, it did split into more than one plant. I'm imagining it can be separated, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it do what it does. I think that's probably the best plan of action with this. This is a fig. What kind of fig? You got me. I have no idea. Oh, wait a minute. Hey, I got a plant tag. That might help. This is called brown turkey fig. Yep, a brown turkey fig. And it has grown really tall. I chopped it back. It's produced figs and dropped the figs. And it goes through these weird cycles where it grows like mad and you're just proud as heck, and then it just stops. And I was thinking I was doing something wrong, but my viewers told me, no, Ray, that's what they do. They grow, stop. And look at this. It looks like some kind of weird disease going on here. No, that just happens sometimes to the old leaves. I have no idea what that is, but it's not an insect. It looks like spider mites, doesn't it? Yep, but it's not. I've looked at it really close. It isn't. It just happens once in a while, but it stops and then it comes back. I don't worry about it. Hey, look, fig. Yep, that's fig down there. And figs are kind of weird because figs are actually a flower. They're not a fruit. They're a flower pod, and you can pollinate them. I don't do that, but yeah, you can actually pollinate them yourself. Usually a wasp does that, a specific type of wasp. It's disgusting. And yeah, if you want to look it up, go to Google and look it up. But yes, it's gross. You'll never want to eat another fig again if you see how it's done. But this is my fig. You know, this is one plant that's hard to enjoy up close. You actually have to back up, and it's probably a good thing because look at the leaves. Let's get up real close. Look at that. This plant can definitely defend itself. Serrated, sharp leaves. This is a pineapple. Yes, the type of pineapple you buy at the grocery store. And I chopped the bottom leaves because they were just way too big. I measured it actually, and each leaf was over 3 feet long. So we're talking a 6-foot wingspan on this thing. I just flat out didn't have room for it. These are all the new leaves here that have grown since I butchered it back. And it had the soil problem, the fertilizer problem as well. And the leaves were all curled up. And some of the older, well, all the older ones are all still curled up. But look at the new leaves. This is a new leaf. And this is right here is where the leaf was coming out. And it was all curled up. But then when I got the fertilizer right here, below that, it's opening up. And all the newer leaves from there on are opening up. So this one's recovering. This is the pineapple top from the fruit of the pineapple that was produced by the pineapple top that I planted. I did a demo many years ago, and it actually got so many views and so many people tuning in. A lot of people are growing pineapples because of this one's mother. And so I keep this one mainly because it's just part of the family. It's always been here, and it probably always will be. Pineapples, they can grow in full sun, partial sun. They really don't care, but they don't like cold, like being frozen. So if you're growing them outdoors, bring them in for the winter. Back there, hidden away, that's a date palm. Yep, somebody sent me some dates a while back, and I'm growing date palms. Yep, this one's been growing since 2013. Not much to look at because they do grow slow, and it's hard to see it because the pineapple camera hog here. Yeah, that's a date palm. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm sure they'll grow in full sunlight, but I don't have full sunlight, so it's just growing underneath the grow light. And there's a palm right in front of it. Palms are kind of cool because when they put out a leaf, it's like this tube. It's like a round tube that comes out, and eventually it just goes wham, and it opens up, and you get these leaves. Yep. This one's called an Acai Palm, and it has more fronds that come out of each stem, whereas the date palm, it just has singular leaves. So these are two totally different kinds of palms, but they're both growing in the exact same conditions. They're growing in just the regular potting mix that I use. Rich, well-drained soil. And then as they grow, these old leaves here, they dry up and stuff. And as they dry up, I pull them away and I toss them away. Directly behind the Acai, you've seen this in a lot of my programs. This is the miracle berry. I grew it from a seed ages and ages ago. Actually, not ages. Okay, it was about maybe 3 years ago. Okay, but yeah, time flies when you're having a good time in the voodoo garden. This is a miracle berry, and a miracle berry, if you've never heard of it, it'll put out little red fruits that are about the size of a cranberry. And you eat the fruit, and for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, your taste buds will be fooled. And that's why they call it the miracle berry. It will fool you into thinking sour things are sweet. So you can chew up one miracle berry, which is very delicious, very edible, and very nutritious, by the way. You eat that miracle berry, and then you can take a lemon, slice it in half, and bite into that lemon and chew it up, and it is like eating lemonade. And it's just amazing. Yeah, I was hoping I would get some fruit off of this because I'd like to do a demo and show you exactly what it can do, because that's going to be a fun episode. This thing puts out flowers a lot, but it never sets fruit. So, I don't know, maybe someday. Down from the miracle is a common spider plant. Actually, not very common because this thing's growing like mad. This was sent to me, actually all three of them were sent to me as itty bitty babies in an envelope. I mentioned that I didn't have a spider plant in here, and people kept sending me spider babies, and these survived. I had the regular green ones, but they didn't do very well. I don't know why. These ones are doing fantastic. Normally you plant a spider plant and it just grows and grows and grows, tons and tons of leaves. Well, this one, it grew a few leaves and then it just changed its mind and decided, you know what, it wants to do this. Spider plants are a grass, and what they are, I found out how they grow. It's really kind of cool. They're a grass that when they become root bound, and they seem to know when they become root bound, what they'll do is they send out these stems, and these stems are designed to go over obstacles, like they'll grow in clusters of rocks in really poor soil. And what they'll do is they'll send out these stems that go up and over the obstacle, and then it's just a luck of the draw, they land where soil is and a new plant will start. Because there's this new plant right at the tip, and they do just like strawberries. You know, strawberries send out the runners? Same principle. It'll send out new runners all over the place, and you can get new cuttings off of this. All you have to do is put a little cup of soil at the end of this, and take a paper clip or something and put this into the soil where there's a new plant at the tip, and it'll grow roots, and then as soon as it starts growing, snip it off and you got a brand new plant. Yep. But something people sometimes don't notice about these is, let's get in real close. Take a look at this. Some of the time they will actually send out flowers. Yep. And they're not very big flowers. Actually, they're very tiny flowers, but they're actually quite beautiful. They will flower and send out plants at the same time, and this stem is actually doing both. Little tiny flowers. Pollinate this booger and see what happens. But it also has a plant. Yeah, it's doing both at the exact same time. So a spider plant can actually be a really fun plant. It does so many things, and it's so beautiful. It doesn't have to be a hanging plant. Most people grow them as hanging plants. I'm growing this as a regular table plant. And they like bright filtered light. They like well-drained, rich soil and plenty of root space. Boy, when you give them root space, they will go nuts. They can grow in a root-bound condition very well, but they do like a lot of root space to get maximum production out of them, and that's what they got here. This is a big pot. This really quite remarkable pepper plant. I call this my Chupp pepper because David Chupp, a friend of mine, sent me a pepper, and I planted the seeds. This thing is going nuts. It's not very tall, but it is stocky. I did the pruning method that I promote quite a bit on this plant, and I transplanted it into a 16-inch pot, a really, really big pot. And it decided it wants to set peppers, look at this, peppers and flowers and growth all at the same time. Usually when you're going to plant something outside, I tell you, take off the flowers, don't let it fruit, promote the growth on the leaves and the roots right off the bat, and then once it's outside, then you let it just go and do what it wants to do. But this is never going to be outside. This is an indoor plant. So I'm really in no rush to get this plant big, so I decided to let it set fruit. What the heck? So inside, before planting season, I'm having some peppers ripening up. Yeah, there's all kinds of them back here. See, there's even one back there. I've got a couple white flies in here. Ugh. White flies are these little itty-bitty white flies that land underneath your plants, and they're harmless. They're harmless unless you get a ton of them, and I generally don't get a ton of them because every now and then I just tilt the plant over and I spray it with pyrethrin and it kills them all dead. But also, something I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, if you look underneath your pepper leaves and you see these weird little bumps, it's like a million little bumps underneath, that is called pepper leaf edema. And that's harmless. That's just your plant going through some watering issues, but it grows out of it. And your leaves will sometimes look like this, kind of like a lighter colored. Yep. Don't worry about that. Just try to let your soil dry out between waterings and eventually it'll grow out of it. It's this weird adolescent thing that your plants go through. Okay, on to the next one, dragon time. This is called a dragon fruit. And a dragon fruit is, I believe, a cactus. Well, I'm going to call it a cactus because it looks like a cactus. If it walks and talks like a cactus, it's a cactus. And let me tell you something, if you grab one of these things and it puts those little needles in you, you'll know it's a cactus. But this thing is vining out all over the place, and you can see how it just falls over the side. And they're actually very graceful and beautiful, and it puts out little roots, and when it touches the soil, it'll definitely put out new plant growth and send down roots, and it gets stronger as it goes. This thing is definitely a survivor, but it loves bright light. And you can see where it got kind of slim over here. See how it's kind of slim? Yep, because I had it underneath some other plants because I didn't have the real estate to put it near a light, and recently I did. So now it's starting to get bigger, and it's starting to put out new growth. Look at that. New growth back there, up here, over here. Look at that one. Holy Moses, look at that. That's all new within the last, I think, couple weeks. Yeah, when they start growing, they don't mess around. Folks, these plants will go crazy, and you can just snap this new growth off at the base. You see where it's joined onto the mother plant? You very gently do it because you'll get spines in you, and then just toss it in soil, and they root so easily. Look at the backside of this little piece. You can see the root? Yep, you can lay it on its side, or you can just shove it halfway up into the soil, and it'll, new plants. Once you have one, you have them forever. Okay, but look, we have, there's always something going on in here. This thing here is just beating the living daylights out of the cactus, and it goes everywhere. It goes all the way over here. This is, it's not a Tigger melon. What is, oh, it's an apple gourd. Yep, I'm growing an apple gourd vine in the house, and boy, that might have been a mistake because this thing is going everywhere. And I've been chopping it back, and it flowers, and it hasn't set fruit yet, but it's flowering and it's growing and it's grabbing everything. See the little clusters over here? Yep, these are going to be flowers, and I'm going to have to pollinate these things. I've been trying to pollinate them, but I don't have any female flowers, so hopefully it'll put out some female flowers soon. But for right now, it's just being a butt. Yeah, it's grabbing onto everybody, and just one of those guests that you don't want in your house. But it sure is fun to grow. It really is. Now, if you're growing these outside, you know they're going to go nuts. If it's going to do this inside, it'll definitely go crazy outside. To the left. Yeah, I'm kind of speeding things along because I got a lot of plants, and I don't want to be filming this like for the next 12 hours. This is the Impatiens plant. Yep, it's flowering. All kinds of pink flowers on these, and one of them I think is going to have white flowers. And what happened is the leaves started getting really icky looking, and that's because it was set over there in the corner. It was getting the lowest amount of light in the whole room, and even though these will grow in the shade outdoors, you don't want to grow them in the shade indoors, because indoors bright light, artificial light, is the equivalent of shade outdoors. So I brought it over here and I put it underneath this super bright light. Okay, hold your eyes. Yep, this light right here, it's about maybe 1.5 feet away from this light, and it's starting to do better on the top growth, and the flowers came out. So I had to move it over here, and I don't know if I'm going to keep growing this forever or if I'm just going to let it flower and then chop it back. Not really quite sure. And over here we have pothos. A pothos is a vine, and I've showed this a couple times, and you can notice that, see how the colors are gold and green? Yep, in the last episode I showed you a white and green. This is a gold and green variety, and it's growing really well. These things are just like philodendron vines, and they will grow in shade, but they do appreciate brighter light. And if you give them a lot of root space and some good light, you're going to get some good leaf growth and good stem growth. These things can grow, you know, dozens of feet. And yeah, I said dozens of feet. They're just nuts. Back behind it, oh, I'm really leaning over here, and I'm going to fall down in a second, but let's hurry up and get a shot of this. Over in the corner, by my spray foam insulation, that's another agave. It's doing about the same as the other one. I don't water this one as often because it's hard for me to even reach over there. It's getting hard to water these things. Hey, look, potatoes. Yep, I'm growing potatoes indoors. This was grown from a potato that was being stored downstairs from the potatoes that I grew in my garden last year. Yep, and I don't know what kind this is. I have no idea. It's one of those ones that I sliced open and it was purple on the inside. Yeah, that was really a bizarre plant. It was really kind of crazy, and I really loved it. But this one, let me move my hand over to keep it from getting shaky. This one, I just shoved it in the soil and it started growing. But you notice there's more than one plant? Yep, if you don't hill up your potatoes, they send out these roots along the top. Well, they'll send deeper roots, but if any root comes up and shows its face in the sun, guess what? It turns into another plant. So yeah, this is kind of a weird way of getting more plants. I have no idea if I'm going to get potatoes from this, but you know what? It's a fun plant to grow, and it seems to be doing pretty good here in the voodoo garden, isn't it? Ah, and here we go. This is the mango. This mango is doing pretty good. I've grown a mango before, but it eventually died from spider mite invasion, so I started another one recently. This one's doing pretty good. When you have mangoes, they will put out some really long leaves. Sometimes they'll put out long leaves, sometimes they'll put out short leaves. I guess it depends on the variety. This one puts out shorter leaves, and the older leaves get to looking like this. I mentioned this in a previous episode. I just snip them off, go about my day, and on that episode I snipped off a few leaves, and since then, see, the newer leaves start out kind of a brownish green, and then they turn a really nice green later on. But it's doing good. It looks very similar to an avocado. Yep. And they appreciate plenty of root space, bright filtered light, but they do like to have their soil dry out between watering. So if you have a mango, don't overwater it, okay? They will hate you till the day they die, and trust me, they will die quickly. You remember when I was talking about sticky traps for fungus nets? Hey, guess what? You can go cheaper than that. You can go to your local hardware store and get those rolls of fly paper and hang them in your grow room, and it catches fungus gnats. Yep, and boy, it's sticky. It's stickier than any sticky trap I've ever found, and this one found a spider. Ugh, that's nasty. But look down here. I'm growing a peanut. Yeah, I'm growing a peanut plant. That is a peanut plant. I've grown peanuts before, but I've never actually gotten peanuts from it. So I'm hoping I get peanuts from this. If I can keep this thing alive until it's time to plant outside, I'm going to grow peanuts outdoors. Back it up, back it up. This is, I have no idea what this is. You got me, folks. I don't know what that is. Do you remember me mentioning this before? I forgot what it is. Okay, well, so much for that. Big fail on that one. Right back up against the wall. This is a cotton plant. And somebody sent me some seeds for cotton, and this is green cotton. Yeah, I know the plant is green, but I believe the cotton that it grows comes out green. Normally you see cotton and it's white. This one grows green cotton. I grew it from a seed, it grew up, I pruned it back because it was just getting huge. It wasn't getting lanky, it was just getting too big. So I pruned it back, and it's growing all kinds of weird, funky stuff. It's gonna put out flowers, I'm sure, and if you've never seen cotton flowers, you're gonna like it. When it starts flowering, I'll definitely whip out the camera and show you what they look like. They look very similar to, what is that? Okra flowers, I think. I think it's okra flowers, yeah. And it's a beautiful plant. You can grow it indoors or outdoors. It loves full sun, of course, but it's doing good in the voodoo garden, and this isn't even close to full sun. Yeah, you might think I'm growing pot here in the voodoo garden, but you'd be wrong. You'd be wrong. This is not even pot. I know it looks like it. To some people, this may look like marijuana, but this is not marijuana. This is a silk floss tree. Yep, it's not just a regular plant. This is an actual tree. Somebody sent me silk floss seeds, and I had no idea what a silk floss tree is, and then I looked it up. Go to Google and Google silk floss trees. Look at that little pot plant thing going on there. But it grew. I sprouted the seed, and it surprised the heck out of me. It took about maybe 3 weeks, and the seed finally germinated, but it's doing really good in here. I have no idea what to expect, but you know what? Maybe I should check it out and see if it can actually grow outside. That would be something, transplanting it outside after being in the voodoo garden. This is grown from a seed as well. This is a Canna Lily. Yep. Canna Lily is similar to, what, irises of some sort? Yeah? I don't know anything about Canna Lilies except for this one seems to like well-drained, rich soil like everything else. And it really enjoys the voodoo garden right up against the light. When I moved away from the light, it throws a fit. When I put it back up against the light, it seems to do okay. That's all I know about it. If you know more, let me know because I have no idea. I'm kind of winging it. Look at the stem on that. It's kind of fat, isn't it? This is called a Buddha belly. A Buddha belly plant. And I don't know if it's doing good or not. It had a couple big leaves, they fell off. It's got new leaves. But right inside the leaves, if I can get right in there, take a look at that. It's kind of neat, isn't it? A weird fuzzy looking crown on the inside. I have no idea what I'm doing here either. I should actually put that as my disclaimer. Don't know what I'm doing. But this is a Buddha belly plant, for those of you who wanted to see it. And then right behind it, yep, this little marvel made its debut appearance on the last episode. This is a pothos, and a beautiful one at that. I didn't give you a close-up then, but I'm going to give you a close-up now. This is like the golden one, only it has cream white colored leaves and green. And I got to tell you, of all the pothos I've ever grown, I got to say this is my favorite. It is definitely my favorite. And they grow strong, healthy, and fast. I don't know if it's the variety or if it's just my imagination, but it seems to grow better than the other type of pothos. Okay, for comparison, here is a red cup, just the red solo cups that I have, and they're about as big as your hand. Look at this tomato plant. This is the Praxxus cherry, and the stem is only about 6 inches long. Look at the new growth here. And look at the green growth. The spread on this thing is about 1 foot or more, about maybe 1 foot to 18 inches wide. That is absolutely nuts. And it's growing in a pot that's about maybe 10 inches tall and 6 inches across. This plant is only, I don't know, maybe a month or so old. It's not old at all from the time I planted the seed. This is the Praxxus cherry that I'm going to be growing outside. And I don't know what I did right. I think it's the genetics. Yeah, it's a beauty. And I don't think I'm going to name all these plants. I just have my Nardello pepper sprouting over here. I had a problem sprouting peppers this year. For some reason, they just didn't want to do what they were told. We have a linguiça. The boxcar willies are starting out. We have another Praxxus cherry back there. Yep, that's a littler one. Smaller pot. We have, what is this? A key lime tree right here. Key lime. And key limes are actually pretty cool. They make pies out of those things. Couple pepper seedlings. On the upper shelf, really about maybe 6 inches from the light, are my onions, my Kelsey onions. I'm growing those in little tiny cups, and I had a 100% germination rate. I'm actually kind of surprised. You can start your onions indoors, but you want to make sure you give them some good light, because onions love bright light. I found that out the hard way. I tried growing them under less than strong light, and I didn't have good luck at all. And over here, I don't know what all these things are. Oh, you know what? I know what this one is. This one is a pumpkin on a stick. A pumpkin on a stick. Yeah, that's a novelty plant. Somebody sent me pumpkin on a stick seeds, and I got one to germinate. You're going to see this one growing outside. I'm going to grow this in the garden if it survives here in the voodoo garden until it's planting time. This is going to be fun. Pumpkin on a stick actually looks like little pumpkins on a plant, but it's not actually pumpkins. Nope, it's eggplant. Yeah, you know me and eggplant. I just love me some eggplant. Then over here we have Rick from, the fuck is his name? Rick from, right over here, Rick, who has a gardening channel on YouTube, he sent me some of his okra seeds. And yeah, he harvested them with his kids, and I planted one, and here we go. I'm going to grow an okra outside this year, just, I don't know, just because I can. Yeah, the spice that you use in cooking, yep, I'm growing paprika, just for the heck of it. Well, let me tell you something. When you start growing passion fruit, they start out slow, and you're just sitting there looking at it, enjoying this little baby, and then you come in one day, and this. Yeah, they get this growth spurt, and they send out these tendrils, and they're strangling themselves, they're strangling the light bulb, they're strangling everything. They're opening the door. Yeah, it's a passion fruit. A passion fruit is a vine, tropical, and this one is a very happy one, apparently. Yep, that's my passion fruit. And look, right next to it, its victim. This is, I believe, called a camille dumb cane. And dumb cane is a common name, but it's a common house plant. This one, I started out as a little tiny plant, transplanted it. It went through a little bit of a fit and started failing, but then, for some reason, it decided to go nuts, and it got its mind right. Look at the base of this. This is actually pretty interesting. When dumb canes are stressed, or if you snip off the growing tip, they send out new shoots along the stem, and that's what this one did. It was stressed out, And that's just their way of finding a new way to survive. It's a survival thing. So I'm going to have multiples growing out of this. So when I transplant this into a larger pot, which I'm going to have to do, but I probably won't have to do it till next year, I'm going to bury this plant up past the base here, and I'll have multiple plants growing in one pot. And I already do have multiple plants in here, but yeah, this is going to make a nice corner plant in the grow room because it's really going good, and it's going to get as tall as I want it to get. This will grow in the same manner as the dragon tree. It'll have a main stem, and then it'll have a display of leaves at the top. To the left of that, back to the veggie category, this is an artichoke. Yep, somebody sent me artichoke seeds, and I decided to start one here. I've never grown an artichoke, so I figured, why not? This is an artichoke. And no, this is just the artichoke plant. And maybe I'll take it outside and grow it outside, because that should be kind of fun. I'll throw it in one of the raised beds. And if we go back in time 250 million years, yep, this is the sago palm. And the sago palm really doesn't do much. You know, it just goes about its life and just takes its time. This has had one frond, but one very healthy frond, for months. This is all it does. And I think that's okay, because I know that once it really gets going, it's going to go really fast, and these plants do get large. So I'm really happy with this plant not going too nuts. I mentioned this and the age of the plant in one episode, and boy, did people start posting comments on that. If you want to see all kinds of stuff, go check that one out. This used to be a real tiny thing. Remember the little polka dot plant? Yeah, I got this as one of those 99-cent itty-bitty plants, and I pruned it back, and it grew, and I pruned it back. It literally behaves just like the pepper plant, see? You prune it back right here, and it puts out new stuff, and eventually you can prune those back. It grows very much like the coleus, if you've ever grown a coleus. Yeah, coleus are beautiful plants, but this is the polka dot plant. And to the left of it, you saw this on the last episode, my little booger. And it's doing really good. For some reason, it's just loving the new pot and everything. I thought it would take a while to adjust, but it seems to be doing good. The leaves that were kind of pointing up a little bit are starting to come down, and that's a good sign. So yeah, jade's doing good. Over behind the jade, this is what's called the cherry moya. Cherry moya. It's normally grown down south, and it's more of a tropical thing. I have no idea what's going on with these leaves. This always happens to me when I grow these things. I've grown cherry moya, rose apples, and I always have that happen, and I'll prune them, and then they'll put out new growth. They'll grow for a while, and then they die. I don't know. I guess I'm just, I shouldn't be growing these things, but I just can't stop myself. And then over here, this is the ginger. Yeah, remember I got the ginger root, and I planted it. This is nothing but store-bought ginger. If you want to grow your own ginger, just go to the grocery store, look for the ginger root in the produce aisle, and get an older one, because those are the ones that are more likely to sprout. Get an older one, and it'll have these little nubs on it. And each nub is going to be a plant. We got 1, 2, 3 that came up, but look, there's another one, there's another one, there's another one. A ginger will put out all kinds of growth. It's not that pretty, you know? My ginger plant is really nothing to write home about, but people grow it for the roots, not the plant. So I really don't care what the plant looks like, as long as the root's doing good. And I think this is going to have to go in a bigger pot really, really quick. I didn't expect this kind of reaction from just a little root. This is an avocado, folks. Yep, I am growing an avocado again. It is one of the most commonly grown plants from stuff that you buy at the grocery store. And my grandma always had an avocado growing, because she's Mexican, and of course she used a lot of avocados, and she had an avocado plant growing in her house. So that's why I grow the avocado, because I don't know, it just reminds me of when I was a kid and hanging out in the kitchen and talking to grandma, and I'd see the avocado plant. It was one of the first plants that I ever saw being grown indoors. Avocados can be grown indoors or outdoors. Outdoors, you better have a nice warm environment year-round, otherwise it's going to die in the wintertime. So this one is an indoor plant for me only. And look at this, new leaves all over the place. And sprouting an avocado is no big deal. You can sprout it in the water method or just shove it into the soil. And that's what I did. I put it in the water, it sprouted a root, and then as soon as the root came out, I popped it down in the soil. But look what this thing is doing down in the soil level. This is something I really didn't expect. And I've never seen this happen on another one of my avocados. I don't bury the avocado pit all the way. I leave it about maybe a fourth of the avocado pit showing when I do plant it here. The root will go all the way down and do its thing, whatever roots do, but it'll send out the stem, and this stem is quite thick. It's almost as big around as a pencil. Look at that. Yep. Nice and solid. The stem is only about maybe a foot tall. Yep, it's only a foot tall with a nice display of leaves. If you have one that's taller than that and smaller leaves, you're not giving it enough light. Avocados love bright light, and they love rich, well-drained soil, and they do need a lot of room for their roots. They definitely do. But what I was trying to show you down here is look at the pit. Normally these pits are real anemic looking and stuff. I never really thought about it, but the light has started to make this pit get green. Yeah, it's actually using photosynthesis. Yeah, that's really kind of strange, isn't it? An actual green pit. I don't know, it's just something different, and I thought I'd share it with you. The last plant I want to show you is a castor bean plant. Castor bean plants are generally grown outside, but this one's grown inside, and it really does have something to show me. It has really beautiful leaves. Look at this. Nice, big green leaves, and this is a young plant. But the stem is really nice too. It's a nice, I guess, like a reddish color. Yeah. I think these things get like, what, 6 feet tall or something like that? Yep. But I'm going to prune this back just like I prune everything else back, and I'm going to keep it from getting too awful tall, and I'm going to have multiple growing heads. But this is the castor bean plant. I love this thing. And it does really well here in the Voodoo Garden. It just loves it here. Bright filtered light, rich well-drained soil, a decent sized pot, and you can grow one too. Now stretch your head. Kind of like that, huh? Yeah. Want to go outside, baby? Ooh. I don't have to ask him twice. Well, thank you everybody for joining me in the Voodoo Garden for this tour. If you have any questions concerning any of these plants, or if I ask you any kind of questions about any of these plants, if you have any ideas of your own to help me out, please post them in the comment section below. And I will see you next time in the Voodoo Garden. But right now, he's ready to go. So this is Ray and Rascal. We are out of here. Okay, let's go.